The slip of truth, the battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose in thin black lines twisting in the alien sky. The human soldier Daniel sat against a broken piece of metal, his arm bleeding but still strong enough to hold his rifle. Around him the ruins of the fight were scattered. Burned ships, broken weapons, and silence that carried the smell of fire. Across from him stood her, the alien warrior. She was tall, her skin a strange pale silver, glowing faintly even in the dim light. Her armor was cracked from battle and one of her shoulders carried a deep burn. But she stood straight, proud, like the fight had not touched her spirit at all. Daniel looked at her in silence. They had fought side by side for hours, covering each other, surviving together. He had never expected to survive this long, but her speed, her strength, her strange way of moving had saved him again and again. He should have been thinking about the mission, about survival. But his tired mind slipped. His eyes followed the curve of her alien form, the smooth lines of her armor, the way her body moved like water even after a bloody fight. And then it happened. He spoke without control. His voice broke the silence, sharp and clear. I can't stop thinking about your body." The words fell into the air like a grenade. Daniel froze. His heart stopped for a second. His mind screamed, "What did I just say?" He hadn't meant to speak it out loud. He had only been thinking, trapped in exhaustion and pain. But the words had escaped, raw and impossible to take back. The alien warrior turned her head slowly. Her golden eyes locked on him. They did not blink. They did not move away. She just stared. Daniel's throat went dry. He tried to laugh it off, but no sound came. His hands trembled. His soldier's training told him to stay calm, to stay quiet. But fear crawled through his body like fire. Her silence was worse than any weapon. She walked toward him, slow, steady, every step echoing in the ruins. The sound of her boots against the broken ground was louder than the battlefield had ever been. Daniel wanted to speak, to explain, to say, "I didn't mean it like that," but he knew it would be useless. She stopped in front of him. Her face was unreadable. No anger, no smile, no sign of what she felt, human. Her voice was calm, too calm. "Do you know what you just said?" Daniel swallowed hard. His mouth was dry. It slipped. "I didn't mean..." Her hand moved fast, pressing against the wall beside his head. For a second, he thought she was going to strike him. His muscles tensed, ready for pain. But she didn't hit. She leaned closer, her golden eyes almost glowing now. "You speak of my body like it is yours to see," she whispered. "Do you know what such words mean in my world?" Daniel's chest pounded. Sweat slid down his face. "No, I don't." For a moment, her lips curved. Not a smile, not anger, something sharper. "Something dangerous in my world," she said softly. "Words like that are not spoken by mistake. They are spoken as a bond, as a claim, and once spoken, they cannot be undone." Daniel's breath caught. His body felt heavy. He wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't move. Her eyes searched his face as if she could read every thought inside his skull. Then she leaned back slowly, releasing him from her shadow. Silence again. Only the crackle of fire in the distance. Daniel tried to steady his voice. "I didn't know. I didn't mean it that way." But inside, his heart was breaking. He had crossed a line he didn't even understand. And her reaction, so calm, so unreadable, was worse than rage. She turned away from him, her armor scraping against the broken metal. She looked at the horizon, where stars burned faintly behind the smoke. For a moment, Daniel thought it was over, that she would leave him there, broken and ashamed. But then, without looking back, she spoke again. "Then you will learn, human. You will learn what your words mean." Her voice carried no warmth, no hate, only certainty. Daniel stared at her, fear and curiosity twisting inside him. What did she mean? What had he just started? The fire burned. The sky trembled. And Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The silent reaction. The night dragged on, but silence held the ruins like a prison. Daniel sat still, his heart refusing to calm. Every second felt longer than the last. His slip of words still echoed in his head. "I can't stop thinking about your body." He wanted to erase it, but the air between them was heavy, unbreakable. The alien warrior, her name was Serenia, stood only a few feet away. Her back was turned to him now, her silver skin catching the faint glow of dying flames. She did not speak. She did not move. Only the slow rise and fall of her chest showed she was alive. Daniel wished she would shout, curse, or strike him. Anything would have been easier than this silence. His mind began to tear itself apart. What if her people considered his words an insult? What if she saw him as weak, unworthy, disgusting? The tension cut deeper than any blade. Finally, he forced his voice out. "Serenia, I didn't mean to." Her hand lifted, stopping him cold. Not turning, not speaking. Just a simple gesture, but filled with power. "Enough, human." Her voice was low, steady, but carried an edge sharp enough to slice through his thoughts. Daniel shut his mouth. His heart thudded harder. He had faced plasma fire, alien beasts, even death itself on other worlds. But nothing compared to the fear crawling through him now. For minutes, long, endless minutes, Serenia stayed still, as if she were wrestling with something deep inside. And then, she laughed, not loud, not soft, a strange, unsettling laugh that made the smoke in the air feel heavier. Daniel froze, unsure if it was mockery or madness. When she finally turned, her golden eyes locked onto his. Her expression was impossible to read, half amusement, half something darker. "You think your words are nothing," she said, voice almost like a whisper. "But words carry weight. They bind, they cut. Do you understand what you have done?" Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, but I want to." Her eyes narrowed. Wanting is not enough. She walked toward him, each step deliberate, like a predator circling prey. Daniel's instincts screamed at him to move, but his body refused. Serenia crouched low in front of him, their faces inches apart. He could see the tiny silver patterns glowing faintly on her skin, the scars across her armor, the power radiating from every movement she made. "You spoke desire," she said, her voice carrying strange weight. "And where I come from, desire is dangerous." Daniel swallowed, his throat tight. "Dangerous? How?" Her lips curved again, not quite a smile. "Because once spoken, it demands proof." He blinked, confusion flooding him. "Proof?" "Yes," her eyes burned brighter. "In my culture, such words mean a challenge. You claim to see me, to want me, to admire me. Then you must show that your words are not hollow." Daniel's blood ran cold. His accidental slip had turned into something far greater, something he didn't understand. "What? What happens if I fail?" he asked, barely managing the words. She leaned closer, her voice a whisper in his ear. "Then you are broken, body and soul, and no human survives that." Daniel's heart pounded so hard it hurt. His instincts told him to apologize again, to beg her to forget. But something inside, a stubborn spark, refused to back down. For the first time since speaking those cursed words, he straightened his back. He looked into her eyes and said, "Then tell me how to prove it." The silence that followed was heavier than the ruins around them. And then, Serenia stood tall again. She looked at him not with anger now, but with something far more dangerous, expectation. "You will prove it in battle," she said. "Not with me, but with what waits in the dark beyond these fires." She pointed toward the shadows at the edge of the ruined field. Daniel followed her gaze, and his stomach twisted. Shapes were moving there, dark, crawling, whispering shapes. Enemies that had not died with the battle. Serenia's voice was cold as steel. "If you survive, your words live. If you fall, your words die with you. Choose, human." Daniel gripped his rifle tighter. Fear clawed at him, but so did something else, determination. His slip of truth had chained him to a test he could not escape. And somewhere deep inside he knew. This was no accident anymore. This was destiny. Beyond human expectation, the shadows moved like liquid. Daniel gripped his rifle so tightly his knuckles went white. The night air carried whispers, low, hissing sounds that made his skin crawl. Serenia stood beside him, tall and steady, her golden eyes unblinking. "They come," she said. "The crawlers. They feed on weakness. Show them none." Daniel swallowed hard. Crawlers. He had heard stories, creatures born in the dead cores of dying planets, feeding on blood and fear, hunters that tore apart whole squads. He had never expected to see them, not alive, not here. And now they were his test. The first shape lunged out of the smoke, a monstrous figure, its body half shadow, half flesh, with claws that shimmered like molten glass. Daniel fired instinctively. The blast lit the night, tearing the creature's shoulder apart, but it didn't fall. It screeched, charging harder. Serenia moved first. Her blade cut the air, slicing the crawler clean in two. The body dissolved into smoke before it touched the ground. Her voice was calm, almost cold. "Do not wait for me to save you. Your words demand you fight. Daniel's chest burned with fear, but he forced himself forward. More shapes crawled out of the dark, 5, then 10, then more. They surrounded the ruins, glowing eyes fixed on the two warriors. The first one came for him. Daniel ducked low, firing at its chest, then rolling aside as claws slashed the air where his head had been. His training took over, short bursts, keep moving, stay alive. He felt claws slice his arm, but he didn't stop. He jammed his rifle under the beast's jaw and fired. The creature exploded into smoke. He gasped for breath, one down, dozens to go. Serenia moved like lightning beside him, her blade singing, cutting down enemy after enemy. She didn't even look at him, only at the fight. But Daniel felt her watching, somehow testing, judging. The crawlers came faster. Daniel's ammo count dropped. He fought harder, gritting his teeth as sweat stung his eyes. A claw slashed his chest, armor cracking, but he refused to fall. He shoved a grenade into the beast's mouth and dove away. The explosion shook the ruins, showering them with burning ash. When he stumbled back to his feet, Serenia's gaze finally landed on him. And for the first time, her lips curved into something like approval. "You bleed," she said. "But you still stand." Daniel spat blood from his mouth. "I'm not done yet." More creatures crawled from the shadows, forming a circle around them. The air grew heavier, thicker. These weren't normal crawlers. They were larger, darker, their claws glowing red like hot iron. Serenia's eyes narrowed. "The elders," she whispered. Daniel felt his stomach twist. If the smaller ones had nearly torn him apart, these were death itself. His hands trembled, but he steadied them. He had no choice. The largest elder lunged. Daniel rolled aside, blasting its flank. The blast barely slowed it down. It swung its claws, smashing into his armor, sending him flying across the rubble. Pain exploded through his ribs. He coughed blood, forcing himself up. The creature roared, charging again. But Daniel didn't run. He raised his weapon, waited until the monster was close, too close, and then fired his last grenade round straight into its chest. The explosion ripped it apart, flames consuming its shadowy form. The blast threw Daniel to the ground. His ears rang, vision blurring. He lay there, chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. When his sight cleared, Serenia stood over him. Around her, silence. The remaining crawlers had vanished into smoke. The field was empty. She looked down at him, golden eyes glowing brighter than the fires. "You fought," she said. "Not like prey, not like a coward. You spoke desire, and you showed strength to match it." Daniel groaned, forcing himself to sit up. His body screamed with pain, but inside a fire burned. He met her gaze. "Was that enough?" For the first time, her expression softened. "Enough to live. Enough to stand. But not enough to understand." Her words cut deeper than claws. She reached out, pressing 2 fingers against his chest just above his heart. Her touch was cold, electric, carrying weight beyond flesh. "You have stepped into a bond you cannot escape," she whispered. "Your words have power. They will change your path, human. They will change you." Daniel stared at her, heart racing. He had survived what should have killed him. He had proven himself in battle. And yet, instead of relief, he felt the heavy pull of something larger, something he did not yet understand. Serenia's eyes glowed like stars. "From this moment, you are no longer just human. You are marked," Daniel's breath caught. "Marked for what?" Her lips curved into the faintest, most dangerous smile he had ever seen. "For destiny." The turning point. The battlefield lay in ruins, but Daniel's mind was the true war zone. His chest burned from cracked ribs, his body shook from exhaustion, yet the alien's words cut deeper than any wound. "You are marked." Those words wouldn't leave him. He wanted to demand answers, but Serenia moved ahead without another glance. She walked into the smoke, tall and unshaken, her silver skin glowing faintly like a beacon in the darkness. Daniel forced himself up and followed, each step stabbing pain into his chest. Finally, when the fires dimmed and silence ruled again, he spoke. "What does it mean? Marked for destiny? What do you want from me?" Serenia stopped. She turned slowly, her golden eyes unreadable. For a long time she said nothing. The silence pressed heavy on him, worse than her words. At last she spoke. "In my people's law, your words bind you. You claimed desire. You proved strength. Now you must endure the trial." Daniel's heart thudded. "Trial?" Her gaze sharpened. "If you fail, you are nothing. If you succeed, you are more than human." Before he could ask again, the ground beneath them rumbled. From the smoke rose something massive, an ancient structure, half buried in the battlefield. Its surface pulsed with strange runes glowing the same color as Serenya's eyes. Daniel stared in awe. "What is this?" Serenya's voice lowered, almost reverent. "The Temple of Oaths. Built long before your world crawled from the mud. It waits for those who speak truth they cannot control." His chest tightened. "She's leading me into this because of one slip of the tongue." But something deeper inside him whispered, "No. This was never an accident." The temple doors groaned open. A wave of cold air rushed out, carrying whispers not made by any living voice. Daniel shivered. Serenya stepped toward the entrance. "The trial is simple," she said. "Enter. Face what waits inside. If you survive, your bond is real. If not, you are erased." Daniel clenched his fists. Fear clawed at his gut, but anger burned hotter. "I never asked for this." Serenya's eyes flared, her voice sharp like a blade. "And yet you spoke it. Weak tongues carve stronger fates than weapons. Do you think the galaxy bends to what you ask? No, human. It bends to what you are." The words shook him. For a moment he saw himself through her eyes. Not a broken soldier, not prey, but something more. He looked at the dark entrance. Shadows moved inside, whispering, pulling. Every instinct screamed to run, but he stepped forward. Serenya watched in silence, her face calm but her golden eyes burning. As Daniel crossed into the temple, he felt the air grow heavy, crushing, filled with echoes of battles and screams long past. The doors slammed shut behind him. Darkness swallowed him whole. Daniel raised his rifle, but it flickered and went dead. His lights shut off. His weapons were nothing here. Then came the voice. Not Serenya's, not human. 1,000 whispers woven together into one. "Your words bind. Your blood speaks. Show us truth." Shapes rose from the dark. At first shadows, then bodies, figures from Daniel's own past. Soldiers he had fought beside. Faces of the dead. Their eyes glowed with the same gold as Serenya's. One stepped forward. It was his old commander, the one who died on Titan Ridge. Blood still dripping down his chest. "You let me die," the figure said. "And now you claim strength?" Daniel's breath caught. This wasn't real, it couldn't be. But the pain, the accusation tore into him. Another figure rose, his sister, the one he couldn't save during the first alien invasion on Earth. Her voice was soft, broken. "You always run, Daniel. You always fail." He dropped to his knees, the weight of guilt pressing down on him. His chest heaved, his mind screamed. The whispers grew louder. Weak, unworthy, empty words. But then, Serenya's voice cut through the storm, distant but sharp as lightning. "Stand, human. Words only matter if you fight for them." Her voice wasn't inside the temple, yet it echoed inside him. Daniel gritted his teeth. He forced himself up, pain ripping through every muscle. His fists clenched. "No!" he shouted into the dark. His voice broke, but he pushed harder. "I'm not weak. I fought, I bled. I still stand." "My words weren't empty," the shadows screamed, rushing at him. Daniel roared back, swinging his fists, fighting not with weapons but with raw will. His knuckles split, his body ached, but he refused to fall. One by one, the shadows burned away, dissolving into golden light. When silence returned, Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping. The temple glowed brighter now, runes blazing like fire. And then the doors opened. Serenya stood waiting. Her expression unreadable, but her eyes burned with something new. "Respect. You did not break," she said softly. Daniel staggered out, barely able to walk. I'm still alive." Serenya stepped close, her voice low, dangerous, almost tender. "Alive and bound. Now you are no longer only Daniel. You are claimed. By your words, by me, by fate." Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't know if it was victory or the start of something far darker. But one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. Shattered expectations. The night sky stretched wide above the ruins, stars glimmering through smoke and ash. Daniel stumbled out of the Temple of Oaths, his body broken, his spirit burning. Every step felt like walking through fire, yet his eyes carried a new steel. Serenya stood waiting. The glow of the temple's runes reflected in her golden eyes, but her face remained calm, unreadable. "You survived," she said simply. Daniel coughed, blood on his lips, but his voice was steady. "You sound surprised." For a moment her lips curved. Not into a smile, not into mockery, but into something sharper. I am not surprised you lived. I am surprised you did not break. Daniel wanted to answer, but before he could, the ground shook. The battlefield groaned, the ruins cracking. From the shadows rose a sound that froze his blood. The same hissing he had heard before, but deeper, heavier, carrying power beyond anything he had faced. Serenya's eyes narrowed. They watched your trial. Now the true enemy comes, Daniel turned. Out of the darkness crawled something massive, taller than any ship. Its body a storm of shadow and bone, with dozens of golden eyes glowing like suns. The crawlers were nothing compared to this. This was their origin. Their queen. Daniel's chest tightened. His rifle was empty. His grenades gone. He had nothing left but his fists and his will. Serenya stepped beside him, her blade shining with cold fire. This is where your words are tested again. Stand with me or die. Daniel looked at her, at the impossible monster before them, and felt a strange calm. The old Daniel would have run, but not now, not after the temple, not after facing his ghosts. He stood straight, meeting the queen's burning gaze. I spoke the truth, and I'll fight for it no matter what comes. The queen roared, the sound shaking the sky. Shadows poured from her body like rivers rushing toward them. Serenya charged, her blade cutting through the first wave, golden sparks flying with every strike. Daniel grabbed a broken piece of metal from the ground, half a spear sharp enough to pierce. He roared and dove into the swarm, striking, slashing, refusing to fall. The fight was chaos, shadows tearing at him, claws ripping his skin, fire burning his lungs. Yet Daniel kept moving, his body breaking but his will unshaken. For every strike he landed, Serenya landed 10, her movements a storm of silver light. But the queen was endless. Daniel's vision blurred. His knees buckled. A claw sliced across his back, dropping him to the ground. The swarm closed in, and then Serenya's voice cut through the chaos. Daniel! He looked up. She stood locked in combat with the queen, her blade deep in the creature's chest. But even her strength faltered. She could not finish it alone. Her eyes burned into his. You spoke desire. You claimed strength. Now prove it. Daniel's heart thundered. His body screamed to give up. But deep inside, something new blazed alive, the mark the temple had left on him. His veins burned with golden fire. His fists shook with strength not his own. With a roar, he surged to his feet. He grabbed the broken spear, leapt onto the queen's back, and drove the weapon into her glowing eye. The creature screamed, a sound that split the sky. Shadows burst like smoke. Daniel held on, screaming with it, until the queen collapsed, her body dissolving into dust. Silence followed. Heavy, absolute silence. Daniel fell to his knees, gasping, covered in blood and ash. Serenya stood over the fading remains, her blade dripping black smoke. She turned to him, her eyes no longer cold. For the first time they burned with something else, something dangerously close to respect. You shattered the expectation, she said. No human should have survived. Yet you did. Daniel coughed, his voice rough. Maybe I'm not just human anymore. Her gaze lingered on him, unreadable but softer than before. She knelt, placing her hand over his chest where the temple's mark still glowed faintly beneath his skin. You are bound to me now, by words, by battle, by fate. Do you accept it? Daniel's breath trembled. His body was broken, his future uncertain. But in her eyes he saw something he had never seen before. Not just power, but trust. He nodded. Yes. For a long moment they stayed like that, two warriors marked by blood and destiny. The stars above burned brighter as if watching, and in that silence Daniel knew. One slip of truth had rewritten his entire life. This was no accident. This was the beginning of something far greater.